if you think that the grand plan is to usher in this age of spirituality, it obviously requires that there's going to be some kickstart to the change in people's consciousness.
Yeah.
And obviously, Loose Change gave that kickstart. Now, whether Bill and Avery got that kickstart from the universe, or whether, for instance, that was part of the intended planning to usher this consciousness up to the level that it needs to be at. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. That would also then imply that whoever is providing these gentlemen with the material, funds, what have you, that they are. I mean, is that a dark, coming from a dark side or a negative side in regards to manipulation? Because that might be. Some people have talked about the White Brotherhood, what have you, that there's a kind of a benevolent force also working, alongside the very negative force, and that these guys are trying to raise our awareness. They're trying to enlighten us, as it were. Do you think that's possible then?
Who's that? Sorry, I misinterpreted that.
Well, basically, people are referring to it as the White Brotherhood, that alongside the Dark Brotherhood, who's working at negative things. There's this a group of other people who are working for positive change within the world. And albeit that they're still manipulating events, they're still pulling the strings, so to speak, but they're trying to make it so that it's moving in a positive direction. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is possible. Sorry, I don't know. I just the way I perceive it is that, for instance, 9/11, Loose Change, and all that came after it was all part of the intended plan.
Yeah.
I'm not really into buying the idea that there's two potential brotherhoods that are kind of fighting it out of sorts in the battle. There's something that tells me deep down that for instance, a year ago when I was thinking all about 9/11, or 2 years ago, and I'd realised it was an inside job, and I was running around telling all my friends.
Yeah.
That was what they wanted me to do. That was intended, because that was needed for the next stage that we're moving into.
Okay. So you're saying that is a negative thing, or do you might not want to put those kind of connotations on it?
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it's a negative thing, because I'm not necessarily. Well, it's difficult describing this, but this whole idea that there's going to be this spiritual kind of ascension, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
If you believe that the Illuminati, when they outlined their plans for ascending the whole of the human population, into a spiritual level, which is what they did say in 1776, it was essentially that they were going to ascend humanity.
Yeah.
You could take a look at it as this is all required to get us to that spiritual state.
Right.
And I'm not saying that spiritual state is a bad state.
Sure.
But because obviously I think that's going to be a much better state than we're currently in. It's almost like these people the Illuminati, who've decided that they wanted to ascend humanity to this higher level, have realised that had to be done, because otherwise the Earth would probably collapse in on itself. I.e., we wouldn't look after it, we'd keep trashing it. Without the spiritual awareness, there'd be nothing left for anyone.
Yeah.
So basically, the spiritual ascension side of things is required for the next stage of human evolution in a material body. So basically, it's almost like there's this thing for me that what is going to happen, including this thing with William and everything, is potentially a better thing for the planet's survival itself. But this is for material reality that I'm talking about. This isn't talking about trying to get outside of that material reality. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. And yet, what I see at this point is that the other side, or the side that potentially are trying to usher in this change now then in consciousness, as you say, they have also been very instrumental in preventing man from reaching a higher consciousness, because of working on himself. He's been totally, subjected to a lot of manipulation. He's been, subjected to war, terror, tragedy, disease. You can name, the whole list down.
Yeah. But if you if for instance you look at it on that scale, right? If for instance these people who know this information, who are sending humanity, also realise that, for instance, death doesn't particularly matter because essentially, they'll reincarnate and they'll keep learning.
Yeah.
So you could look at it on that principle, and that's why death no longer means so much. But sorry, I've lost my track here.
No, I think what you're getting at is that through the means, if you will, of tragic forces, man grow in another way than if everything would be wonderful and positive all the time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that basically, for instance, it's a terrible thing when someone dies, and obviously, but if it was done with another means, as a means to ascend that spirit or soul to a different level, then obviously it's on a much grander plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
So basically, negativity is required and tragedy is required to ascend, the essence of love and everything that goes with it.
Yeah. That's a good.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can never know you never know how good you've got it until you've seen it really bad.
That's right. And I don't know if we should say unfortunately then, but in many cases, the propellant, the catalyst in order to get things to happen in many cases is actually tragedy, because horrific events or what have you. It seems to be something that's kind of is hard coded, if you will, within the DNA or something. Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but in many cases, it's everything. If everything is great in a way, that there is no progress.
There's no progress, no evolution, no nothing, is there?
No.
That's why I always until something happens sit on the fence as to whether to say that this thing is a really bad thing or this thing is a really good thing.
Right.
Deep down, what I've realised is that this thing to do with the sun worship and everything that goes with like worship of the sun and then the Trinity event and everything like that, is that is there to trick you and to keep coming back into the material plane, because you're feeding that system its energy. You're feeding the material world its energy there by recycling and coming back.
Yeah.
And that's where the deceit is going on, i.e. this spiritual ascension could be a really good thing, but then no one's still going to be allowed to know the true essence of, what they're trapped in as sorts with the reincarnation thing and everything. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
They're sending it so far, they're telling you so much, but not quite everything.
They'll give you just enough in order to keep your
be a good person.
Yeah, and to even keep your attention. There's something new there that kind of draws you in all the time, but they don't give you the full story, because then they would reveal the plot.
And that's for instance why I say when you hear the stuff to do with the New Age stuff and the people who are talking about spiritual ascension and everything that goes with it, is like that's all very well and very good because it's brilliant for humanity, but it's only going to a certain level. There's that next stage on.
Hey, you know what? I think that this is a great thing to round things up here. We spent another great 2 hours with you, and it was very interesting talking more with you about this, ask you some more questions, and just toss different ideas, theories, philosophies around like this. I love it and appreciate it very much. So it's been
good.
Yeah, great having you back on the show. Tell us again about your website and if you have any, what plans you have for future posts or what's on the horizon for you, Rick.
Okay, well, the website's thecosmicmind.blogspot.com. Currently, I'm just going to be... I've essentially covered through this radio talk a lot of work, and I'm going to be spending a lot of my time compiling the evidence for you to actually read at your own time, and so you can see where I'm coming from. And that's my first step, really, to get on top of things.
Brilliant.
And then, obviously, I've recently been speaking to some friends of mine in association with getting some... maybe some videos produced on the back of my findings. So,
great.
Obviously, stay tuned.
Very good. thecosmicmind.blogspot.com. Rick, thank you very much for coming on. We'll do it again soon, I hope.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Brilliant.
Thank you.